Okay, good morning everyone in Chazak. Baruch, thank you for joining us on this beautiful Thursday morning as we are studying together Parashat Behaalotecha. Parashat Behaalotecha, we read about a lot of different ideas. Parashat is very hard parashat to summarize. There's so many different details, so many things happening. We read about the menorah, we read about, Pesach Sheni, we read about the Jewish people finally disembarking from Har Sinai, ready to move on to the promised land. We read the people complaining, they're not satisfied with the man. We read about the institution of the Sanhedrin, the 70 elders. We read about the new prophets. We read about the quail. We see about Moshe's brothers and sister, his own brother and sister, Miriam and Aharon, speak gossip about him. Wild parasha. A lot of action, a lot going on, a lot of lessons. So I want to share an idea today that we learn that combines our parasha a little bit with the parasha before, next week and 2 weeks. And that is the following idea. It ties in a little bit to what we spoke about yesterday. And this idea of noseh be'ol havero. Yesterday we spoke about sharing a burden with your friend. In life, when a baby's born, at the Brit Milah we say to the parents, Zeh katan gadol yihiyeh. This little one shall become one day a big one. What does that mean, this little one should be a big one? This little kid should be a big kid. What kind of blessing is that? People grow. Kids, they're small, and most people, they get bigger. Why do you have to give a beracha that he should get bigger? What kind of beracha is that? He should be like a husky, a large, extra large. What are we telling the parents? Of course, we're not talking about physical size. Katan, some people in life, they're very small people. What does it mean to be a small person? A katan is a person who thinks about himself. Before he does anything in life, any action, he's only thinking about, how does this affect me? Is this good for me to do? Is this allowed for me to do? Even when he's asking halachot questions, he's only interested, how does this impact my life? What ramifications, what consequences to me? He doesn't think about other people. He thinks about himself. That's fine. That's a katan. The only person in his circle of life is him. Right? Me, myself, and I. A baby is born, he's a katan. He's a little kid. Why is he little? He's little because of his mentality. The little kid doesn't think about anyone else in the world. Doesn't know how to share burden, doesn't know how to be empathetic, doesn't know how to think about other people. All he thinks about is himself. What's best for me? I'm hungry, I cry, I need to eat. Doesn't care that his mom is exhausted, his father's tired, woke up already 3 times tonight. Doesn't care. He's a katan. That's a katan. As we get older in life, we learn to start becoming other-centered, to include other people in our calculations, in our day-to-day life, in our thought process. Now it's not just me. Now it's my friends. Now it's my wife. Now it's my kids. And actually, we grow, we become, we mature to relate in our relationships. The idea that we are Hashem's child is actually the lowest level. To be a child of God is not the highest level. That's because to be a child means that God's giving you. A higher level than a child of God is to be God's sister, ahoti, we say in Shir Hashirim. My sister, God is a sister, that's a higher level. Because a sister, there's a give and take. And the highest level that we could be is imi, a mother. A mother gives. That's a real gadol. To think about, again, not myself, but other people. So as an example, a person when they're young, a small person, a small person comes and maybe when they're married, they stay small. So they think about, I need to go learn Torah. I need to grow. I didn't learn today. So a small person goes and learns. That's a small person. A big person doesn't go and learn. A big person may say, 1 second, I want to learn, and it's good for me to learn. But what about my wife? She just had a baby. What about my kids? They need me home. There's stuff going on right now. Right now, maybe not the best time to learn. Believe it or not, sometimes not the best time to learn. A big person thinks about the whole community, the whole family, the ramifications. You're praying in shul and you're done praying. Okay, I'm done. Maybe if you're done, so a small person starts talking to the guy next to them because I'm done praying and I prayed already and I'm done. So I don't need to pray anymore. I don't have to worry about focusing. But a big person realizes there's other people praying. And the guy behind me, if I talk, I'm going to distract him. And I'm part of a community. So that's what it means to be big. You have to think about what you're about to do. How is it going to affect you? How's it going to affect everyone around you? And sometimes, although for you it may be the right thing to do, but now it's not the right thing because now other people are going to be affected. Maybe for you, you have money. You, God bless, God gave you money. So you could go on vacation. And you could go to a nice vacation and afford a nice place. But you don't have to tell everyone where you went. Because by telling people where you went, now you know what you're doing. Yeah, you're being small. Now you're not thinking about them. Thinking about them, you realize they can't afford this. Maybe I don't have to flex. I don't have to show off to my siblings where I went for vacation. Because guess what? They're going to feel bad. Because Baruch Hashem, I could afford it, but my siblings can't. Why do I want to put that pressure? And now they're going to have fighting, and the wife's going to say to the husband, oh, why we can't go there, and the Shalom Bayit, and this is going to lead to things. So you know what? Let's go, honey, me and you alone. Let's go, but we don't have to tell anyone where we went. Let's tell them we stayed at the Holiday Inn. We stayed at the Hilton. We don't have to tell them we stayed at the nicest place in the world. You know, when I go away, I went with my wife, I go away. I don't tell you guys that I stayed at, Kap Juluka. I don't tell you guys. Kidding, I didn't stay at Kap Juluka. Okay? But, you don't have to tell people. You don't have to tell everyone what you're doing. Just because you can, doesn't mean that they can. And being big is thinking about that. Thinking about other people. We have to think about what we're doing. What we're doing, how it's affecting the other people around us. So as an example, in this week's parasha, we read, Parashat Behaalotecha, look at this. Vayomer Moshe leHovav ben Reuel HaMidyani choten Moshe. Moshe says to Hobab, which is another name for Yitro, his father-in-law. And Yitro, if you remember, he's still here with them. Moshe's father-in-law, all these parashiot, he's still there. From Matan Torah, he came, Vayishma, remember he came, and now he stayed with them. And this is a year later. And Moshe turns to his father-in-law and says, we're about to travel to the promised land. Lecha itanu. Please join us, father-in-law. Hetavnu lach. We'll give you good stuff. Promising maybe some land. Please join us. Vayomer elav lo elech. Yitro said, I'm sorry. I can't come with you. I'm going back home. Vayomer, he said back, please don't leave us. You're our eyes. You have such insight, foresight, wisdom. You told us, right? Yitro gave Moshe the idea about having the court, the hierarchy, the court system. Please join us. Whatever God gives us, we're going to share with you. You're one of us, even though you're not a Jew, but a Jew with us. But Yitro declines. Yitro says thanks, but no thanks. Now again, Yitro, did he do anything wrong? He wanted to go home. He needed his people. He had a whole country. He had a whole following. He had his life, his house. I'm not Jewish. What do I need to go to Israel for? No thanks. And the truth is, maybe as far as Yitro is concerned, what he did was nothing wrong. But our rabbis tell us that when you're going to act like that and you're a big guy, you're Moshe's father-in-law, people look up to you. And he wasn't just Moshe's father-in-law, he was a big guy. He was Paro's advisor. He was the prince of Midian. When you act that way, if you're going to say Israel is not important, and we know what you meant, of course you know what's important. But you just, whatever, you have other things and other calculations and you're not Jewish and whatever. But guess what? If you're going to talk like that, so don't be surprised when next week we read about the Meraglim. When next week we read about Moshe sending spies to Israel to find out, is it the right place to go? How should we go? How should we enter? And all of a sudden, even these 12 holy men, they're discouraged. Why? Because Yitro discouraged them. Yitro discouraged them. What did he do? He didn't say anything. He said, I'm going home. It's true. But they saw you leave and they said, you know what? Maybe we don't need to go either. Small people think about themselves. Big people think about how other people are going to react. How is this going to make an impact on those around me? And what Yitro does, it has ramification. It leads to the spies. And in a way, the spies is Yitro's fault. It's a wild thing. But that's as we become bigger, we're more accountable. Moshe Rabbeinu, he hits the rock. What does God say? You didn't sanctify my name. You didn't sanctify my name. Right? What's the pasuk over there? You didn't sanctify my name. Now, because you did this, you're creating a bad example. You're setting a bad example. And in Judaism, we're accountable for that. If I set a bad example and you do something wrong, that's partially my fault. Again, at the end of the day, you did it, it's your fault. But I also took responsibility in that. We read last week in Perashat Naso, the pasuk says that if a person steals, person commits a theft, he has to return what he stole. And he has to confess his sin. What does the pasuk say? Unbelievable pasuk. Look at this. Isha or Isha, if a man or woman will steal, vehitvadu et hatatam, they have to confess, plural. Veheshiv et ashamo berosho, and he, singular, has to return what he stole. You see what's going on over here? Torah says if you commit a theft, you, singular, have to return, and you, plural, have to confess. Who has to confess the plural here? One guy stole. He has to confess. Why does it say plural? You, plural, shall confess. What the Torah is teaching us is that sometimes one guy stole, and he's guilty for stealing, and he's got to be the one to pay back. And for sure it's his fault. But the Torah is saying, but maybe there are other people that are at fault for this. Maybe there are other people that caused him to steal. Why did this guy steal? Why did he go into someone else's purse to take money? Why was he not satisfied with what he was making? Why did he feel the need to go to that level? Because maybe there's people around him that they put pressure, that they raise the bar so high on what weddings should look like, and what vacations should look like, and what houses should look like, that this guy, although he's making a respectable salary, maybe he feels, maybe his wife's putting pressure. Who knows, the society, the community, but he's doing now something because other people forced, in a way, they got him to this level that he felt like he needed to do this. Whose fault is it? 100% only his fault. But vehitvadu, Torah says multiple people have to confess over here. You see a guy attempt assassination, tries to kill somebody in politics. Whose fault is that? For sure, only his fault. However, rhetoric matters. And when politicians use in debates words like this guy is a Nazi, and if they win, they're the worst thing for the country, and if they win, it's the end of democracy, and if they win, you use language like that. We know what you meant, you know what you meant, but bottom line, people listening, you cause a guy to grab a gun and to go attempt an assassination. That's partially your fault. Rhetoric matters. Language matters. Words matter. And what you're saying, what it impacts, what it ripples, what it inspires in the people around you, that's also your fault. You have to think about that. And as we grow in life, we have to think about what we're doing. And not only how is it affecting me, but how is it affecting everyone around me. Yitro, maybe he said, I don't need to go to Israel. Maybe I'm learning. I don't need to go to class. It's true, you don't need to go. But your kids, your wife, your friend, your husband, your people around you, if you don't go, they don't go. So maybe you have to recalculate. Because you're not you anymore. You're not katan. Maybe you go, even though you don't need it, you have to go for them. Because they need it. That's one example from our parasha. That's one example from last week's parasha. I'll give you another example. We read at the end of the parasha, Miriam and Aharon, they speak about their brother Moshe. Now, were they justified? Maybe. Maybe on their own level. It's my brother. My brother. I could talk to my brother. I could rebuke my brother. Tell him how it is. Got to tell him when he's wrong, he's wrong. His family, I love him. He's coming from a good place. We're prophets. We're equals. Talk about your brother. You put down your brother. You knock your brother a little bit. That's maybe okay for Miriam and Aharon. But don't be surprised now when next week we read all of a sudden about Korah, who feels like he could also put down Moshe. If you, Miriam and Aharon, could put down Moshe, then you're creating over here, you're setting a pattern. You're setting an example. And now Korah says, well, me, I'm also equal. And so sometimes we have to realize that the way we talk to our spouse may be okay for us. Maybe. Even that, probably not. But sometimes it can be okay. I'm equal, I'm this, I'm that. But who's listening? Who's watching all of this? Maybe you could afford something, but maybe the people around you can't. So maybe you want to rethink. Again, a small person, not asur. I could buy it, I could afford it. What's wrong? I could afford it, it's okay. But as we grow in life, zeh katan gadol yeh. We have to ask ourselves, but maybe the other people, I better not, because of how it's going to affect them. How it's going to affect them. We read another example last week about the Nesiim, about the princes of the tribes. On opening day, they each brought a korban. For 12 days, each prince of a tribe brought another korban. So the first day, the tribe of Yehuda, the next day, the next tribe, the next tribe, the next tribe. Each tribe, each prince brings another korban for 12 days. From Rosh Chodesh Nisan all the way till the 12th. For the first 12 days of the month, they're bringing korbanot. And that's why the parasha last week was a very long parasha. Because you had 12 offerings, and each offering was 5 psukim long. Each dedication. So the first day you had Nachshon ben Aminadav for the tribe of Yehuda, and you had then Yisachar, so on and so forth. And each guy is bringing a korban, and the korban is a few psukim long, so 12 times 5 is 60. Now the fascinating thing is that each korban was the same as the guy before. They all ended up bringing the same korban. And the Torah could have written, and so too each guy brought the same thing. You could have saved 50 or more pesukim. But instead, the Torah lists each guy and what he brings, even though it's the same exact thing. And these are the korbanot of the Nesiim. Which korban do you think was the most important out of the 12? Which guy out of these 12 was the greatest guy? Which guy out of the 12 guys was the greatest level, highest level? Our rabbis tell us it was guy number 2. Netanel ben Tzu'ar. Why? Because guy number 2, he had a choice to make. He comes, now he's got to bring a korban. He sees the day before him what a guy brought. What Nachshon ben Aminadav brought. He brought this amount of silver, this amount of cups, this amount of things. Okay. Now he has a choice to make. And he thinks as follows. This is what he's thinking in his head. Game theory, right? He's thinking in his head like this. He said, look, could I bring less than him? I can't bring less to Hashem. Not nice. Okay, I'm not going to bring less. Bring the same as him. Yeah, but then it's unoriginal. It's not impressive. Creative. You got to show. You just copy the guy before you? Who needs that? Got to break the record. Okay, so let me do more. Right? Those are the 3 options. Less, same, or more. So I'll do more. And really, he could afford more. He could have done more. He would have done more. But what happened? Then he said, one second. Let me play this out. Guy number 3, if I do more, guy number 3, also he's going to have the same calculation. I can't do less. Can't do the same. I got to do more. Now, maybe he could do more, but then what's that going to look like for guy number 4? What about him? He's got to bring now not 3 cups. He's going to bring 7 cups. What about guy number 12? The 12th guy, forget about it. Guy's going to go broke. Because what? If we're always going to try to outdo the guy before, where's it going to go one day? Right? So guy number 2 made a conscious decision to say, you know what? I'll bring the same, even though maybe it makes me look bad. Because it makes me look like I'm just copying. But it's okay. Because ultimately, for the sake of the community, this is the best way to go. Unbelievable calculation. And that's why he's the most praiseworthy guy. And each guy copied. Even though maybe it made them look bad. But that's the best for the overall system. That's a very high level. That's a very beautiful thing. You know, you look at today, weddings. What do weddings look like? You know what a wedding looked like 60, 70 years ago? It was in the house, talit, few people. When you were done, they gave you a bag of mlebis. They make you, a little mlebis. Then what happened the next wedding? The guy says, I can't just do mlebis. I can't just copy. I got to do mlebis plus. I got to add a little bit kake blos. And then the third wedding said, okay, we're going to do mlebis and kake blos, and then let me serve a little bit of maza, and then a little sushi, and then a little this, and before you know it, 2025, if the guy's wedding is not on the moon, you call him Hazit. Hazit. What kind of wedding is this? It's only on planet Earth? What kind of thing is this? This is what happens. And this is the greatness of the Nesi'im. They were able to think about not just today, but down the line. And to make a decision today that would help overall. Certain communities, they have what's called a takana wedding. Set wedding. You can't do better than this. I don't care if you could afford it. It's not about you. You're part of a community. You got to think about other people. Very nice that you could afford. It's not about you. When you're part of a community, there's rules. We know that there's rules. You can't play music past a certain time. There's a curfew. What do you mean? I have a party. So what? So what? There's other people. They have to go to sleep. When you're part of it, if you want to live alone, go live by yourself in the middle of nowhere. But if you're part of a community, you have to think about the community's needs, not just your needs. That's a very powerful idea. By the way, what's fascinating is that these 12 korbanot, these 12 sacrifices that they went for 12 days, what's the interesting thing about the 12 days? That means that if they're going for 12 days straight, that means that for sure you're going to have a Shabbat. Because Shabbat's every 7 days. So the obvious question is, how are they allowed to bring whoever's day fell out on Shabbat? I don't know what day it was. 1, 2, I don't know what day it was. But whatever day Shabbat fell out on, that guy, he wasn't allowed to bring his korban. You can't bring an individual korban on Shabbat. So really it should have delayed till tomorrow. And then it should have taken 13 days, not 12. Because one day would need to take a break for Shabbat. But the answer is, our rabbis tell us, that because all these 12 men, they didn't think about themselves. These 12 guys, they thought about the other guy. So their korban no longer had the status of a korban yahid, of an individual korban. It now took on a much greater strength. That was called a korban tzibur. The korban tzibur, that goes a very long way in life. You could even bring that on Shabbat. And so we have to really ask ourselves, when I'm a katan, I'm by myself, I'm limited. I'm in trouble. When I'm a tzibur, I'm part of a network. A tzibur goes very far in life. Trust me, you don't want to be alone in this world. You need community. You need a zechur of the community. When you're praying, we need the merit of this community. We need the merit of the tefillah of everyone around us. We need that zechur. If I'm praying alone in my house, maybe my prayer is not worthy. It's not a smart thing to pray b'yahid. Because maybe you don't deserve. Maybe you don't have kavanah. Now you're with a minyan. Bekerev Elohim yishpot. God's amongst the judges. Right? Elokim nitzav ba'adat el, the pasuk says. That God is amongst the Eidah. Eidah is a community. What kind of community? Eidah. Eidah, how many people is Eidah? Eidah, 10. How do you know 10? 10, I know that from next week, from the spies. God says to Moshe, Ad matay la'ida ra'a hazot. How much longer for this bad Eidah? God calls the 10 spies in Eidah 10. There were 10 spies, right? Because 2 of them, Yoshua and Caleb, were good. So there were 10 spies that spoke bad. God calls them in Eidah. So we learn from there that a minyan, Eidah, is 10 people. Unbelievable. We're learning that 10 people gathered together in prayer has a power. And where are we learning it from? 10 evil men that brought death to them and their entire generation. And yet God says, these 10 men, as bad as they are, if they unite, if they become one, they have a koah, they have a power even more greater than one guy, tzaddik, praying by himself. You know why? Because that's the power of the tzibur. We need tzibur. We need the community. We benefit from the community. We get protection because of the community. We get beracha because of the community. That means we also have to think about the community. When the community is suffering, we got to be part of that. We can't all of a sudden now I could do it, so that's it. I don't have to think about them. No. If you're part of it, you have to be. We just had Shavuot. We read about a man, Eli Melech, that when there was a famine in Israel, he checked out. I have money, I could afford to fly away, I'll see you later. He left the community. He went to Moab, he went out east to Jordan. He met nice women, his daughters married Moabiyot. That's it. What ended up happening? They all died. Elimelech and his 2 sons. How come? You leave the community, you leave the protection. And so part of being community is thinking about our actions, how they impact other people. And not always just because for me it makes sense, doesn't make sense for the community. And if it doesn't make sense for the community, then maybe I have to reconsider. And these are the lessons that we learn from Yitro. He's responsible for the spies. And Miriam and Aharon, they're responsible for Korah. And the guy steals, then other people have to say, maybe it's my fault that he stole. Maybe I have to do teshubah for that. And this is the lesson of being part of something bigger than ourselves. To think about more than just ourselves. Okay, we'll stop over here, my friends. Have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.